yourselves. I'm Maddie.
And I'm Tiarni, and welcome to Suddha Sanctuary.
So, our podcast is about sharing experiences, knowledge, and wisdom around health and wellness, and they're from people we love and are inspired by, as well as our own. And this is a beautiful sacred space for you to listen, learn, and create your own path in life.
Yes, and we are forever grateful that you joined and shared this journey with us. If you would like to stay notified about when we post, please subscribe to our channel and like or comment if you feel inclined. This helps us out a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's begin. Hey everyone, it's Tiarni. Just letting you know before we begin the episode that we did have some technical difficulties with the software we were recording on. It actually timed out halfway through and we lost, we didn't lose conversation, but it just cut us off. So it might not make sense halfway through. We'd be talking about one thing, then we basically go into like the next question. We're so excited because it's our first episode with our first guest. You'll soon get to know her in our introduction for her. So I really hope some parts of it or all of it resonates with you and you take a couple of things from it. So enjoy. Hello everyone, welcome back to Suddha Sanctuary. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey again, and for those of you who are new to our channel and our podcast, welcome. We are already up to our third episode.
Yeah, so how magic. I mean, here we are. And I mean, when we first started this beautiful dance together, I mean, who would have known how amazing it would have flowed? So thank you so much for everything that has happened. And I feel we are in such a lovely place here and creating through this sacred process. I feel like it has elevated my own consciousness in some aspect. And I feel as though hopefully any soul that listens as well. So thank you so much, Tiarni, and to everyone here who listened from the depths of my heart.
Yes, thank you all of our listeners, and Maddie, you are the greatest. Thank you as well.
Yeah, and we're so excited because for today's episode, we have our very first guest, and we're so honored to have her on our podcast.
Yes, today we welcome Allie from Hara the Label. She has created a sustainable clothing line that mainly consists of plant-dyed bamboo intimates and is all natural. So good for the body and the planet.
It's such a yummy label, and with the beautiful intent to strip back the artificial world of fast fashion and chemicals in our clothing, and this beautiful creation has become such a star in the industry. So thank you, Allie, for chatting with us today. How are you?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, also, we're so keen to interview and really just get to know a lot about your whole journey and what made you create the label.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Hara, yeah, I began Hara like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But for me, it really began when I was in high school. I started, I would collect like recycled clothing and vintage pieces, and I had this hobby, and then I would sell them online. A lot of the time, it was just like to friends and that. And it was at that point that I really started becoming aware of the impact that actually clothing has on the environment, but also just the world that we live in. And it was sort of at that point that I really I had this feeling that I was going to do something in the fashion industry, because I felt like it was an industry that was being ignored in different aspects. So yeah, after leaving school, for a few years, I did uni and traveling, and then it was a couple of years ago where I really felt like it was the moment to sort of start something, and it took me to India. And in India, for 3 months I was there. Just my intent was to go over to look into the cotton industry and see what was happening there, and also look into the clothing manufacturing over in India, because there's a big industry there for it. And and so yeah, I mean, what I discovered there was like, for me, what I um, believe is that um, cotton wasn't the sustainable answer for me, and but it really, that whole trip really just gave energy to the project that I was about to begin. And then also, like, it's called Hara, which means green in Hindi, which I got inspired from my trip in India.
That's so
really
beautiful.
Yeah.
Just like
yeah.
our name, Suddha Sanctuary, ours is Suddha meaning purity in Sanskrit. So that's so cool that yours is
Mm,
from India. That's so amazing. What
yeah, it's a special place.
Yeah, what else did you experience over there? Did you like run into someone or some people that also helped with your creation and that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I I had a really beautiful conversation with a cotton farmer. Um, we stumbled into each other's company, and yeah, he spoke a lot about the fashion industry, and then he actually took me on a bus to down south in India, where it's like the hub for textiles, and I spent a few days down there just exploring factories,
Mm.
um, which was really, really amazing. And actually, I think if at the moment we're producing in Melbourne,
Yeah.
we were producing in Bali, and then we recently just moved to Melbourne. Um, if for some reason in the future we needed to reconsider where we were producing, I think India for me would be definitely top of the list.
Mm.
Um, I don't I think the problem with uh, producing overseas um, is when it's unregulated, um, and profits are thought about over ethics
Mm.
and stuff like that. But when I was in India, I really felt like um, this particular factory that I visited was really beautiful, and they had an amazing connection with the people that was working in there. And yeah, definitely a place I would consider in the future.
Yeah, and in terms of like the ethical part of the whole process in terms of making the clothes and your products, like what does it
Mhm.
mean? Because I know it can mean so many different things for different people depending on their intent and like what they're making. But for Hara, what does it sort of resonate with you?
Yeah, in terms of the word ethical in the fashion industry, to us means basically to not take advantage of resources and to be fair. More specifically for us, it's the way we show that is through regular wages and bonuses, through appreciation, respect, time off. The word ethical is really being used now because we have all come to this realization in the fashion industry that there has gen- generally been some pretty unethical practices
Mm.
happening, including like forced labor, withholding of salaries, child labor. So yeah, these words, yeah, it's really important that these words are used and discussed, because they hold so much behind them.
Yeah, and I feel like with the ethical as well, like you were saying, how it's being used so much more. I feel as though people are genuinely, I feel like more interested into the process behind it, and like when you go shopping as well, like even with like
Hmm.
I'm in my last year of school, but especially like people my age, people are less and less going to massive shopping centers, and it's kind of this thing of really wanting to support sort of, I feel like labels that have a story and where you can kind of like go behind, that first layer of like, you're just buying a t-shirt, you don't know the whole process behind it. And I feel as though when it does have that ethical sort of stance, that really just strips it back to how products are made. And I feel as though it really just elevates any sort of product. So yeah, it's definitely a massive thing nowadays.
Yeah, the awareness is like increasing tenfold, especially even from like when we first began Hara to now. Just the education and awareness and the interest that people are having in, what is going on behind the scenes, and really asking questions that matter. It's amazing. It's the fashion, like it when I first began it, I just thought I really knew that that as a collective, a movement could happen and change could happen, and it just would take one person, then two people, then three, and eventually like change would happen. And I think we're witnessing that now in the fashion industry. We're witnessing what the power that consumers have, the power that where you put your money, that holds power in itself. We don't really wait for governments or anyone to decide what kind of world we're going to live in.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, I feel like there's so much power in that.
That's so beautiful, because like with everyone getting aware, they, like Maddie said just before, and so did you, Allie, that people are being like more conscious of what they're buying, and instead of going into a well-known shop like, say for example, City Beach or Universal, they're looking for more sustainable clothing that helps the planet as well as ourselves, or they're actually going to op shops and buying secondhand clothes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've checked out. Sorry, Maddie, what did you say?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, op shops are a massive thing, and like markets as well. Like Ali, how you said how you first started off, making, like, revamping all those clothes. Like, I feel as though those practices as well, that really ties in with, basically that ethical thing as well. It's very cool.
Yeah, and when I do get asked, like I 100% believe, the most the most sustainable way we can be with our clothing is buying secondhand, because there is enough clothing out there for us to wear. Unfortunately, like we're probably not. Unfortunately and fortunately, we're probably not going to go and buy secondhand undies.
No, where the label comes from.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's very cool. So we've both, Maddie and I, have checked out your Instagram and your website, and we both love what you have created. So, and with not just, I guess, limiting to it for one body type, you've literally got pieces for every single body type in every beautiful natural color. So we're wanting to know, do you have any favorite pieces in your range?
My favorite piece are the high-waisted undies, the Lena. They by far, like, when I first started the label, in my head I had it that I was just going to do one bra, and that was going to be it until I really got it started, and then I'll develop from that. It ended up when I released the clothing label, it was 2 bras and 1 undies, and the undies were these high-waisted undies that we still have today. And I remember when I was sort of designing them and started like putting up photos, that I had a lot of people actually, tell me, those are granny undies. Like, what are you doing selling them? And I was like, you just wait. You wait till you try them on. They're gonna change your life. And now, so many people that were hesitant at first swear by them. I've converted so many people to high-waist undies.
Yeah, I feel like they're just super comfy. I mean, like, anything granny is always so comfy.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I live in those ones. I'm all about comfort. I love just feeling comfortable in clothing. So
Yeah, that's really cool. And in terms of like when you're talking about, you know, like they were the first underwear that you designed, what's the process for that like? Is it, you know, do you have a certain one each time you go to create something, or is it changing? Like how do you go about it?
So the creative process, I mean, it's basically um be the creative process has basically been me drawing on a paper this idea I have, and being supported by the people around me to like manifest it into reality. In terms of like the pieces that I come up with, um, they the we have 5 products, and they have all came from uh, they're all products that I just um, just like these statement products that I felt like I've always had in my life,
Mm.
and and then that's kind of um, where those products came from. But the going forward, the new products that we have, basically like I I really I tend to wear a lot of the same clothing all the time, and I I take notice of like what clothing I feel most comfortable in, what clothing am I wearing the most, um, and kind of that's basically how these couple of new products have just came from, because the past year I've just been playing around with ideas, and just sort of sampling pieces, um, and wearing them all the time, and then other people, you know, like them and want them, so I'll make them appear. And for the past year, I've been one of our new products is flares and a bando. Those are our
Mm.
2 next products, and I just made a ton of them for my friends and family, and I've been wearing them, and we've all been wearing them for the past like year, just getting all the feedback. So yeah, it's just yeah. I mean, and in terms of like the creative process throughout the photography,
Mm.
um, I've really been on this journey discovering, you know, the different forms of beauty that are in women, and like what I've really really come to realize is that, you know, you can find beauty in everything, and allowing something to just flow in its natural way um, has so much power. And so I really connect with photos, and if I'm taking photos, or I'm on set where there's photos happening, um it's about like, okay, how do we, you know, let's just create the space where whoever is in front of the camera can just fall into herself, and just like you know, be in her body, and what does that look like, and what does that feel like. And so when I see when I the content that I like to share, I've connect every, you know, every photo that I share on our social media, I've connected with that photo, and it's like I just, you know, just see like a woman in her beauty of whatever that means for her. um in the way the photo portrayed it, I can see it too. um so yeah, it's been a massive journey for me in that aspect, but it's yeah,
No, that's
been
really
busy.
cool. It's nice that I feel like, well, what I like took from that is like it's kind of like a close relationship. I feel of like you being very involved in terms of like wanting to have a conscious like connection in terms of anything that you produce, and like working with like sort of a pure intent. I feel like that's a very special thing to have, because that's another thing like with fast fashion, it's like it's a very fast thing, like it's not
Yeah.
as personal and like interrelationship with every sort of process. And I feel as though that manifests as well in terms of like the energy output that comes from the product and like all the amazing opportunities. Like when you have that sort of personal stance,
Mm,
I feel as though that definitely like flows on, and you can definitely feel it. Like even when you go on your website or even on the Instagram, you scroll through and you get this like feeling of ease, I feel, from it, because it is that personal element where you're like, wow, there's an actual like human, there's a soul behind this. It's not this sort of mechanical process where it's like, you know, every Wednesday, you know, we'll upload
mm,
like this. Like it's kind of more of a natural stance.
yeah, perfect. I'm so glad you have that experience.
And just
Yeah.
adding
Yeah,
on to
it's very
what
different from everything else. I feel like it, yeah, it definitely stands out, which is amazing.
Yeah, and adding
Cool.
like what onto Maddie said just then, like I love how you mentioned about how when you're shooting or you're on the set, you like to be there with that person who's the model, and you let them be them in the photo shoot, and I think that's so important, especially like for social media. When you post on social media, it's just not the one body type in your piece, it's every body type, and it just goes to show that you don't have to be skinny to be wearing this, and you don't have to look like this to be on Instagram or anything like that. So it's so beautiful
Hmm.
to put that out there and be like, this is for everyone, not just like people in particular. But I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, it was. To be honest, like I didn't overthink in terms of including everyone.
Mm,
There was never a conscious moment where I thought that that's exactly what I was doing. It
yeah.
just happened that way because I because like I just you know
Mm,
every single person is beautiful in their own way, and so I was never sort of directed to one type of person.
yeah. And it allows
Yeah,
like your models and people who you work with to actually step in their power and express themselves and be themselves. And it's so important to have people share that, because that creates ideas and more inspiration. And I think that's so beautiful for you to allow the people you work with to be free to be themselves.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's all that I could ever ask for, is that people are feeling safe and feeling comfortable within themselves, and feeling empowered um, to be themselves and trust themselves. And yeah,
Beautiful.
absolutely.
I know you mentioned, you went to India and that sort of thing, and that really was an eye opener for you, and also such an inspiration for your name and your clothing line and that sort of thing as well. But do you have any, I guess, other favorite places to just travel to heal and just immerse yourself in that place?
Yeah, so out of all the places that I've traveled to, there's not too many, but a few. Probably India and Bali are
Yeah.
both are definitely the places that I would go um, to heal and to allow me to see the truth and get into like a deep meditation.
Mm,
Um, the 3 months that I spent in India was very healing for me, very discovering.
yeah.
Um, yeah, it was really amazing. And Bali for me, I think the energy level that it resonates with just really puts me into a space where I can sort of drop more into my heart and live from that space, and see the separation from like the mind and the
Yeah.
heart and the body and everything. So yeah, India and Bali. Um, Also, like in a totally different way. Um, before I, um, right before I kind of like really started Hara, I went to New York for a couple of weeks, and I've always been, always and still am really deeply connected to nature, and can find cities sometimes a bit, they're congested with a lot of energy. And um, I was hesitant when I first went to New York, but I went there, and um, that for me was healing in its own way too.
Mm.
Um, it was so inspiring, and it had this it has this energy feeling um of no limitations, and you
Mm.
know, to really um just believe in yourself and that anything is possible. And
Mm.
so um New York is always a place that I really wanted to go back to.
Yeah.
um yeah.
No, I feel as well, like with the when you said like traveling to cities as well, like how the energies can be like quite condensed and like pretty hectic. Like I feel as though it's
Mhm.
kind of nice to have that duality in the sense of being able to go to yeah, cities like New York and everything, and then travel back to those places that are just like full of nature and just serenity. And it's like it's in those moments I feel as though you can draw upon the energy and things that you learnt from the massive times in like your cities and everything. And then that allows, yeah, more of like a natural stance in terms of creation and like self realization. I feel as though it's,
Yeah,
yeah, lovely to have that contrast.
yeah, absolutely. Both bring amazing things.
Yeah. What do you like love to do when you go to those places? Is it for you, does it just kind of depend? Do you just like to travel? Are you like a hiking kind of person? Like what do you love to do?
um when I love one of the biggest things I love, especially like in New York,
Mm,
but it's actually especially in India, is I love connecting with people. I
mm,
love like talking to people that um in these new areas, in these different areas, and just um uh opening my mind up more and more and more by understanding people that you know grew up in different worlds, live in a different world, and yeah, I love going to these places to learn. Um, and I love the ocean. So whenever I'm traveling, I'm always trying to find the ocean.
yeah. No, that's a lovely space. Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, just um, in Bali, the number one thing that I always do whenever I go back is dancing. There are a lot of um, dancing. I don't know if you guys have been to Bali.
No, I
No, I
Uh,
haven't.
um, there's like there's sort of a community, dancing community, and dancing for me has been amazing. Um,
is it
is really healing for me.
is it the ecstatic dancing?
Yeah, so there's ecstatic dance and there's contact dance, which
Mm.
is kind of very similar. But yeah, ecstatic dance, which they have in Melbourne as well.
Oh wow.
Um,
What's that
yeah, and
experience like?
yeah, it's amazing. When I first started, it was like mind blowing. Just
Mhm.
really allowing the you to lose your mind so that you can fall into your body, into your heart, and allow your body to move
Mhm.
how however it feels. And then in turn, like for me, I developed this deep trust with myself that I trust myself in all my movements through life. So I never doubt myself, and I allow myself to move past, when the mind is trying to rationalize or a situation, and just to drop into myself, and really understand how I should move in that moment. And these
That's
lessons came up from just like dancing.
Yeah.
yeah, that's super super cool. Because I feel I've got some friends up in Byron, and they love like all that sort of
Mm,
work, and they have yeah, massive ceremonies like that. And I've never personally been to one. I've never really had the chance to yet because it's been pretty hectic. But like,
yeah.
yeah, I've just heard so many positive things from it. I feel like it would just be amazing.
yeah, you should definitely try it when you get the opportunity. It's really, really, really amazing.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, and I feel so with Bali as well. Like, I've never been, but from everything, like most of my friends and stuff have been, and they do like it. Everyone comes back, and it's like you feel so refreshed, and it's like this different energy as well. I feel like that's the beauty of traveling. You just pick up on new
Yeah.
ideas, new inspiration, and it's sort of, yeah, I feel like it reignites almost like certain aspects of yourself. I feel like that's a massive part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, change, the law of nature is change, and just, yeah,
Mm.
anything that gives fresh energy and flow to our life, brings up and shakes around our being and brings up new things. So for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And we were wondering as well, like for the people listening, do you have any sort of advice that you would love to give to, let them know how they can sort of be inspired to live out their dreams and basically anything they'd love to do?
Yeah. So for me, like there were so many reasons for me to not start um, Hara. Like
Mm.
I didn't have a degree, I didn't know anything about clothing production, I didn't have that much money. Um, the one thing I really did have, and what I think is vital to starting and having a successful business, is to really believe in yourself and trust yourself. I believed in what I was creating so much, and I never allowed doubt or fear to manifest into thoughts. And what I found is, when you're believing yourself and that energy is really strong, like the universe will support you.
Mm.
um and then, like, the other advice is like patience, because like
Mhm.
nothing happens overnight. And it really does take time and constant work, because a lot of people think, Hara grew really fast and was sort of happened overnight. But what they don't realize is that, I've had this idea for 6 years, and I've been planning it for like 3 years, and 2 years we really began. And so for the past 2 years, um, I've literally been working on it nonstop,
Mhm.
day and night, um, to like keep it going. And so, um, yeah, hard work, um, hard work, and belief in yourself can literally create whatever life you want.
Mhm. And with what you just said about you, when you started, you didn't really know much about how to produce clothing and that sort of thing. I guess what
Hmm.
advice would you give to someone who really, really wanted to do something and or create something beautiful, but actually had no idea about it? So how do you, I guess, deepen your knowledge into, I guess, for example, like if you wanted to create a jewelry line or clothing line,
Hmm.
what would you do to, I guess, have more knowledge about that thing to be able to create it?
So if you don't, the number one thing I would say is turn to Google. For me, like when I first began, Google was my best friend. I was just like Googling and reading up interviews on
Mhm.
all sorts of people that were sort of doing the things I wanted to do, and their experience. I was reading endless amounts of stuff on Google about clothing production and how to produce and where to produce and how it works. And then I just started reaching out to people that were in the industry and just saying, and being, I think the best thing is to just be really honest. Be really honest that you don't know anything, or or be really honest with the amount of knowledge that you have, because that allows you to be open to receive
Mhm.
knowledge. So when I first began, I was really, really like, I would, I was asking people like, hey, I have this idea, you know, of what I want to do. Um, I don't even know, like, what step one would, I don't even know, how to sew a garment together. I don't even know how this would work. And, yeah, just, and slowly, every day I just expanded my knowledge. Like I feel like for the past 2 years I've been at like fashion school. That's kind of what it's felt like with me. And I'm super grateful that I've manifested amazing people in the team and in my life that have a wealth of knowledge and can give me. But I think just being open to receive, there is so much information that is available at our hands. We can literally learn anything we want for free. So I definitely I would say start at Google and then find, and then just start reaching out to people, and you'll soon be where you need to be.
Yeah, I feel like reaching out to people is a massive thing, like in terms of being able to have connections with people. Like for anything, I guess, in life, if you can be honest, like you said, and be open and just like.
Hey everyone, it's me again. So that's where it cut off, and I'm really sorry about that. The conversation on the podcast was going so well up until the software stopped recording, but I just wanted to take this time and opportunity to remind you that Suddha Sanctuary comes from a place of love, and we currently do not have any sponsorships. However, if you feel like you'd be wishing to sponsor and that this is in alignment with this podcast and you, please feel free to email us with the info in the description below. Thank you. Allie, this is a question for you. So, if you were able to make anything ethical apart from your current goodies, what thing would you love to change to encompass this?
In terms, like when you say like anything ethical, do you mean like another sort of product or industry?
So is there any, apart from, I guess, clothing, is there anything you wanted to, I guess, add to Hara? Or like maybe, I don't know, water bottles or something like that?
Actually, this is super random and not even connected to Hara or the clothing industry. But if there was, I was having this conversation the other night on breeding animals, like pets.
Yeah.
Because I watched this documentary about the amount of like animals, the amount of like dogs that are put down every year. And so when I first read that question, for some reason, the first thing that popped into my head was moving from like breeding animals to having the animals that are, you know, already here without homes as pets.
Oh, that's
that's what came to my head.
Oh, that's so nice. I literally was just thinking about doing kind of the same thing, but my partner and I are thinking about moving back to our hometown in the next couple of months, and I was like thinking maybe I could open like a doggy daycare or something, because occasionally I take my dog to this doggy daycare here, and he has so much fun, and all the dogs are like so happy. Like, this is so off topic, but yeah, and I was like maybe I could do something like that. I could be surrounded by dogs all day.
Oh, you'd be so happy. That'd be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
That would be so good. Call me up if you do that.
Yeah.
I'll come visit.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. And I feel with the ethical in terms of like pet shops as well, like I feel as though it's just such a crazy environment. For like the purpose of it, it's kind of gone like crazy. And in terms of the way they're treated and looked after, it's something like out of this world. Like, it's just out of hand.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it's really outdated too. Pet stores, like, I don't know, it just feels a bit like
a bit old.
It feels a bit old. It feels like we've moved past that.
Yeah, invent something cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel that. And they're like little beings as well. Like, you just want to have a beautiful space for them to just chill and enjoy life. Like,
absolutely.
And then, oh yeah, and so this is our last question. That's come really quick. All right. So, do you have any spiritual practices or rituals that you love to do? Is there anything you just love integrating into your day?
So, one of the sort of rituals that I began when I moved back to Melbourne from Bali. I had, the company was at this point, and I felt like I needed to grow faster or more than I was, to be the person that that the company needed me to be, to push it forward. And so I started thinking, how does one become, how does one grow into a specific way. So for me, I really, what I did is I thought, who inspires me? Because I really believe that, the people that you surround yourself with really factor in the person that you are. And I thought, who as a person inspires me, and what skills and do I want to develop, so that I can grow the company. The company can only grow as much as I allow it to. So what do I need to what do I need to let go of, and what do I need to bring into myself to allow it to keep growing? And so a ritual that I started is every morning, the first thing I do when I wake up is I'll have a conversation with someone that inspires me. But when I say a conversation, it's more like, so at the moment, the people that I'm really connected, the people that are really, I see, I want to embody things that they have, Oprah Winfrey, Will Smith, Tony Robbins, and a few others. And so the first thing that I do when I wake up is I'll listen to one of them talking. I'll just listen to them on YouTube or a podcast, and they talk about ideas, and I would start having conversations as if I'm having a conversation with them about these ideas, and start talking about what these ideas mean to me, and just and so basically I'm creating my own influence around me. I'm by just listening to people talking. So that's sort of a ritual, and that's been really life-changing for me. It's allowing me to grow my mind and open up my mind in a specific way. So that's been really cool.
Yeah, did you stumble upon, I've never really heard anything like that. Did you sort of come up with it yourself, or did?
Well, I've always had this thought, I've always really felt like the people that are around us, the conversations that we're having make up who we are. And I really felt like I could feel myself change, as in the way I feel when I'm having a really empowering conversation with someone. I really feel it. I can feel it in my heart. My whole body feels different compared to a conversation that isn't really inspiring or empowering me. My whole body and everything feels just a bit different. So I knew there was some power in the words that are shared between two people, the energy that's shared between two people. And I also, when you're having a conversation with someone and you, different conversations have different vibrational levels, and the conversations that you allow, that kind of you're opening yourself up to that level, whatever that is, and then that just manifests in your life in different ways. And so when I had this thought that I needed to be having like very, very inspiring, very empowering, very strong conversations, because I felt like that's really the energy I wanted to manifest. Like, I thought the easiest and the fastest way is just to create them with with really powerful, strong people. That, and the mind, the mind has its limitations, as in if I'm listening to something and and someone's like talking to me, my mind doesn't know if that's specifically, my mind doesn't realize that that's specifically to me, or it's just like a podcast to the world. So I really feel like I have seen a massive change that, and I would recommend it to anyone, if you really wanted to, like, if there's things you wanted to embody that you see in other people, to try this technique, because it's made massive shifts for me. That just having this sort of fake conversation with people, but it was just a thought that I just sort of came up with it because I'm so busy at the moment that I don't get to spend a lot of time with too many people. I didn't really have the time in my life to physically reach out and go meet people. And so it was sort of a way to overcome that problem, was that I could still sort of have these conversations and be working at the same time.
Yeah, make the best out of both of them. That's really cool.
Yeah.
No, I love that.
And I also, with your ritual that you do, Allie, I think it's so cool because you can literally just be in that present moment with that person you're watching on YouTube, or, someone who inspires you. And like you said, it's so important to surround yourself with people who are inspiring and empowering, and that help you shift and move so you can make the changes in what you're creating, or you can expand your inspiration. Like, it's so important, and it's so awesome to have support like that and things and people around you.
Definitely the people that you surround yourself with means a lot.
So that's basically, we wanted to go through with you in this episode. We've really touched on so many amazing things through this. So thank you so much for being a part of it, Allie. We really appreciate it. And especially you being our first guest. Like, it's so exciting. And we're so happy and grateful to have you on our podcast. So just for our listeners, where can we find the lovely products that you make, and where can we find you, like, on social media and that sort of thing?
Cool. First of all, thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing being able to talk with you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
So you can find us online at www.harathelabel.com. Also, we're on Instagram at Hara_the_label. So those are our two main places you can find us.
Beautiful. Thank you.
No worries. Thank you.
If you'd like to connect with us on social media, you can find me, Tiarni, on Instagram at TiarniML. And you, Maddie?
Yes, you can also find me on Instagram. I'm _. So it's not the little line, it's the one that's lower. People always get that mixed up. So it's an _. Maddie, Maddie, and Crow with an E. So like the bird, but it has an E on the end. So yeah, that's our Instagrams down below for you guys. If you would love to check them out, we would both love to connect with you. I'm also going to have my Etsy shop linked below. I have some cute little things in terms of like prints there if you would love to purchase them. And even if you just want to message me on there, if you don't have Instagram, that is completely chill as well. But yeah, in terms of our socials, that's what's going to be in the description as well. Probably like a little summary of what our podcast is here today. And yeah, we am so grateful to have this platform in which we
Yes.
connect with you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.